Hi, welcome to this video on online form design. We're going to teach you the 5 principles of creating an easy to use form that will get you the most conversions. So, the 5 principles we're going to talk through are validation, affordance, make it mobile friendly, user experience, and integration. Let's get started. First up is validation. Validation is the process that checks whether what you've entered into a form field is correct and displays the appropriate feedback. Poorly validated forms are a major cause of frustration for users and can often lead to complete abandonment of your form. Validate as you go. Research shows it's best practice to validate form fields as they are entered and show immediate feedback to the user so they can make corrections while still in the context. How many times have you filled in a form to be told at the end there's an error and not be able to find where it is? Be clear. If a specific format is required and the user has made a mistake, ensure the validation messages tell them exactly what is expected, not just, there was an error. Examples are a requirement for a set number of digits in the case of credit card number, or a specific prefix for local phone numbers. Keep it close. Validation messages need to be in close proximity to the fields they relate to. It can be a good idea to highlight the field in the same colour or style as the validation message, as a further visual cue. Make it immediately obvious so users don't need to join the dots. Use positive feedback. Positive confirmation messages when fields are entered correctly assures users that things are going smoothly and offers a small sense of achievement. Just be careful not to overdo it. These messages shouldn't detract too much from the ultimate goal of completing the form. And finally, consider helpers. Use helpers like date pickers and address lookup fields. This not only makes it easier and faster for the user to enter, but it also ensures the data is validated at the same time. So, a quick recap. Validate as you go so you don't get to the end of the form only to be told there are errors and have to figure out where they all are. Be clear what format you require information. Keep validation messages close to the field they relate to. Use positive feedback to assure users things are going smoothly. And finally, use helpers like date pickers or address lookups to make things quicker and easier for the user. Our second principle is affordance. Just like the design of a door handle suggests the way that a door should be opened, the design of a form field suggests the type of input they require, and this is known as affordance, and it's crucial to good usability. Granted, there's usually a label next to each field, but users should be able to quickly scan a form visually and get a rough idea of what they need to enter. If all fields look the same and there are no visual cues, it makes this difficult, and mistakes are more likely by confusing one box from another. Field size. So with this in mind, the size of an input field suggests the amount of data required. So for example, an age field should be much shorter than an email address. Field style. The style of an input field can also be a help or a hindrance. Have you ever entered a date only to receive an error about the format being incorrect? If a certain date is required, then that should be implied visually. Alternatively, use an input helper such as a calendar or an auto-completing field. Grouping. Grouping of fields that belong together is a simple way of hinting at which bits of data go together logically. It also makes the form less daunting to users. Styling form fields for better affordance pays off every time a user engages with your form because their experience will feel just that little bit more effortless. So a quick recap. The size of an input field suggests the amount of data required. When all fields are an arbitrary length, there's no visual cue as to what's expected. The style of an input field is also important. If a certain format is required, then it should be implied visually. And finally, grouping similar information together in a logical manner makes forms less daunting and much simpler for users to follow. Moving swiftly on, make it mobile. Poorly optimised forms can be a real pain for users to fill in from their mobile devices. Studies show that people using mobile devices are often more focused on completing set tasks, such as ordering a product, paying a bill, or finding a specific piece of information, than those on a desktop. If the task in question involves a form, then they are going to use it, even if it's not been optimised for mobile. You can make things much easier for them by following these simple guidelines. Adjust the layout. A typical mobile screen is much smaller than a computer screen, so the first question should be, does everything on the page need to be there for mobile? Consider removing large graphic elements and non-important information, remembering that the user is focused on the goal of filling out this form. Anything not helping that can be a distraction. Minimise input required. Reduce the amount of data people need to enter. The more you can cut back on what they have to enter, the higher your form completion rate will be. Do you really need their name and title, or just the name? Perhaps you don't need to capture everything up front. You can always ask for more later. Only ask the information that's critical to completing the process in question. Pre-fill where possible. Pre-filling any saved details is always appreciated if the user has an account. You can also take advantage of modern phone technology, such as the inbuilt camera to capture input like credit cards, or the GPS to automatically detect their location. To recap, adjust the layout so users can easily fill out your form on their mobile phones. Make sure you're only asking for information you really require, and make it clear which field is in use through visual highlights. Pre-fill as much information as possible to make the process quick and easy. Principle number 4 is user experience, which is crucial for online forms because they're often the place where the most complex interactions happen. User experience design is a balance of many different factors that come together to affect how someone feels when they use your website or application. If a customer has a negative user experience using your form, it undermines your brand and lowers conversions, which negatively impacts the bottom line. Usability. The term usability is often used interchangeably with UX, but usability is actually just one of the factors contributing to the overall user experience. Depending on your customer's context and objectives, usability may be prioritised first, or it might take a back seat. Look at the example here. The route on the left is easy to use and efficient. It will get you there faster, but you probably won't bother taking any photos along the way. Usability is prioritised above all else. The route on the right will take longer, but with beautiful scenery and a winding road, it's going to be more enjoyable for many, unless you get car sick. Audience and context. Who's going to be using your form? It's important to know your audience before designing a form, as different demographics will have different priorities, needs, and preferences. Look at this first example. Someone entering a competition might enjoy quirks and challenges that others find annoying. In the context of entering a competition, certain challenges built into the form might help build a mini sense of achievement and excitement. On the flip side, someone wanting to pay their parking fine online wants as little fuss as possible, so usability is more important here. So to recap, the usability of your form will depend on the context and objectives of the form. Usability might be prioritised first, or it might take a backseat over user experience. It's important to know your audience before designing a form, as different demographics will have different priorities, needs, and preferences. All forms are there to facilitate a certain process. It may be a desirable process, or it may be undesirable but mandatory. Where your process sits on this scale should help determine how to approach the design. Usability and efficiency are key for an undesirable process. Test with real users to get instant feedback on the user experience of your form. And finally, we come to our last section, integration. Simply put, an integration connects one system with another system so their data and features can be shared. It's the glue that connects different apps and systems together. Improving workflows with a simple integration can have a huge impact on your business. It reduces error-prone, repetitive manual data input, which lowers overheads and gives your company the ability to scale. The ongoing opportunities for integrations to transform the way we do business are massive. Many integration opportunities are still untapped. Investing in an integration can have a dramatic effect on the efficiency of your organisation's internal processes, which in turn affects the user experience of the applicant, which ultimately increases applications. The limiting factor is often the lack of expert skills required for implementation, but that's where we come in. Let's take a look at some examples of an integration. First up, purchasing and paying for something online. The payment form sends the customer's credit card details off to the bank via a secure integration. This goes on behind the scenes, so to the customer it's completely seamless because they never leave the storefront. And how about a credit check as part of a loan application? Traditionally, when applying for a loan, the lender would complete a credit check after the application form is handed in. Integrating the application form with an online credit bureau makes this approve or decline process instantaneous. The form simply passes the data that has been entered by the customer off to the credit bureau in a mutually agreed format, and the bureau passes back its score. So why should you integrate your form? By combining multiple processes into one, you cut down the overhead involved in switching between different tools or services. Repetitive data entry is eliminated when data can be sent automatically from one system to the other. This frees up huge amounts of staff time to be better spent on activities that improve your business. Integrating with other services in new ways may give you a completely new product offering and create a point of difference. One well-known example is Xero, which was one of the first accounting products online to automatically pull in transactions from your bank accounts. Integrating your online form can dramatically reduce processing times. Decisions can be made instantaneously, saving time for both applicant and processor. Other simple integrations, such as signing up with Facebook, shortcuts the registration process by pulling in name, email, and other details from the user's Facebook account. Online forms offer countless opportunities for integration that will add value and improve the overall experience. And that's it. If you made it through to the end, well done. We hope you found this video useful and have lots of ideas to implement to make filling out your form a breeze. We're Custom D, specialists in developing custom online tools and apps. If you have a problem within your processes, we can build an app for that. Check us out online at customd.com. Sayonara!